Welcome to Greenable Woodbridge. I am your host, Carolyn Ehrlich, and with us today is Randy Solomon, the Executive Director of Sustainable Jersey, and Lauren Skorinsky. Did I get it?
Skorinsky.
I told you I've been practicing all day long, and I still got it wrong.
Okay.
And you are the Program Director for Community Outreach for Sustainable Jersey. And I thought that when I do this show for the viewers who watch all the time, I'm always referring to Sustainable Jersey. And I don't know if they're scratching their heads and saying, well, what is that? And I thought it would be wise to have the two of you come on and tell our residents what it is and the important role that Sustainable Jersey plays in our town and all of the towns throughout New Jersey. So let's start off with talking about what is the mission of Sustainable Jersey.
Sure. So, hi Carol. And by the way, so we know Carol really well because Woodbridge is like our superstar in Sustainable Jersey, and so we're always here helping them and also learning from them, and you and Mayor McCormick are real champions, and it's great to be on your show. So, Sustainable Jersey was founded to help municipalities and schools implement sustainability initiatives. That shouldn't be surprising to anyone. And our formal mission is a better tomorrow, one municipality at a time, one school at a time. And the concept behind it is that New Jersey is a place with 565 municipalities, close to 600 active school districts, 2,500 schools, and they have tremendous frontline authority on all the things that impact our lives and that will determine whether or not we have a good future, whether it's energy and climate, water, roads, transportation, housing, economic development, jobs, health and safety, equity issues, on and on. Health is a huge one. It's municipalities. And there's a lot of authority there, but we're not New York City. Right? New York City is roughly the same size as New Jersey. So whereas when they're focused on climate, they have a whole team of PhDs and experts, just for New York. But most towns don't have that. And so we see our role as supporting communities to try to achieve their goals in sustainability by providing resources, guidance, specific, detailed guidance on how to implement strategies, giving grants to build your power, giving training, and doing what we can do to help you all implement and sort of address those big issues and think long term.
And there are those that say, because sometimes it's very difficult to do things on the national level or even on the state level, that the change that is going to happen is going to be on the local level and with the people who live in all of our municipalities. That's kind of got to start from us and work its way up.
Can't wait for other people to do it. We need to do it here at home.
Right. Right. And one of the things that we do like to say is that even the littlest thing that you do, if everybody's doing it, it becomes a big impact. And how many towns do you have participating?
So in terms of municipal participation, we're at 471.
Wow.
And then about 240 at the moment are actually certified. So participating means you joined, you passed a resolution of the governing body, you're going to try to be sustainable and you're going to try to get certified. Actually getting certified means you went through a rigorous process where you implemented stuff, you've documented what you've done and it met our standards, and then all the stuff that you did goes online.
Right.
So anyone can look at it. So there's a transparency there and a rigor to the process because it's not it's like trust but verify, so to speak.
And that transparency is great because I know as soon as we finish the year, I go online to see what all the other towns are doing. I have a feeling people are looking at Woodbridge too, and we all help each other in
It's
that
great
way.
peer-to-peer learning, right?
Yeah.
So if you're interested in doing something in your community, you can see who else has done it and look exactly at what they've done and then model that in your own community.
Exactly. So I have a couple of phrases that I have used to describe Sustainable Jersey. The first thing I do is I call it a roadmap to sustainability because it really is a map to how to do it. but my favorite phrase, and you have heard me say this so many times, is I call it sustainability for dummies. And how many years ago was this now? 14? Woodbridge started?
We formally launched in 2009.
Yeah. So
we started dreaming it up in 2006.
Okay, all right. So from that point, I have to say that I knew nothing about sustainability, why, what, or anything. So if you want to talk about a dummy, I was your dummy. But because of the resources and the links that you have, I just sat there and went from link after link after link and link and learned so much and actually got so passionate about what I was learning that I went to the mayor and I said, can we be part of the Sustainable Jersey? And his now famous lines is, only if you win.
It's a competition.
Right.
Yeah.
And we have won. So that is the beautiful part about it. But if you could explain the actions and the points and the resources and give some examples of, because that's the meat of sustainable.
So the Sustainable Jersey is best known as being a certification program where we have very specific, we call them actions, but these are the concrete things that we think a town could and should do to address some big issue. And they are the ordinances, the programs, the policies, the purchasing, the things that you purchase, the operational things that you do that are in your control. And for the municipal program and the schools program, each there's about 150 each, and it's a point system. So if you implement it and you meet our standards and you submit documentary evidence, which again can be viewed online, showing that you met the standards, you can get points for that particular action. And for each one of those actions, we describe how to do it. And in many cases, and it's a real compliment to say it's sustainability for dummies, because making something simple is hard. And we recognize that we are very much about communities and municipalities, and we understand the realities of what municipalities, the constraints on their capacity, because there's so many things coming at local government all the time, and they feel quite overwhelmed. So if we can't make this stuff simple, we know it's not going to happen. So we have very detailed guidance, step 1, get out of bed. Step 2, go to the bathroom. Step 3, make some coffee. It's really basic. But then at the same time, we link to the state agencies and the nonprofits that can give you help, whether it's money or technical assistance. We link it to our own grants program. So we really try to think through, from your perspective, what do you need to really be able to pull the trigger and do this and make it as simple as possible.
Right.
And the people helping us create these actions are from state, county, local governments. They're from academia. They're people from the municipalities themselves who are helping guide and say, this is what we need. This is how it would be achievable. That kind of thing.
Yeah, it's not just us sitting in our offices at the College of New Jersey just dreaming this up.
Right. You have
very extensive stakeholder engagement and deliberation, and then people probably don't know that Carol's on our Certification Standards Committee, and she's the chair of it. And so the Certification Standards Committee is the body that has got representatives from municipalities and state agencies and all the people that Lauren said that decides which stuff gets in and which stuff doesn't. And one of the things that sort of Carol and the few other mayors and municipal people that are on there do is that they sort of they keep us all in check. You put some agency people together with some scientists, and they think they dream up this awesome thing that towns could do, and Carol's like, "You fool! We'll never do that."
Can't do that.
So it keeps it real, and it keeps it practical.
I have to admit, though, I get outvoted quite a bit.
Usually not. You have a lot of sway on that, and I think, I think the proof is in the pudding, because the municipalities are implementing around 3,000 of these actions every single year and submitting them to us for review as part of their efforts to get points. So it's a lot of activity on the ground throughout the state of New Jersey as a result of this.
Absolutely, and you did. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, for all of those actions, we do training, webinars and conferences. We have panels and sessions on. Bring in, the case studies that are municipalities and schools doing these actions on the ground, and then provide technical assistance as well to try to provide as much assistance and hand-holding to get these actions done where needed.
It's truly amazing because you have a very small staff, but yet you are holding the hands of over 400 municipalities. I mean, even the ones that aren't certified, you're reaching out to them and saying, what can we do to help you get these points? And so it's a lot of work that you put into it. It's creating the actions and then putting them out there, helping the towns to fulfill those actions and understand them, and then reviewing. And when you have a town like us, we did over 1,000 actions.
1,000 points worth of actions, yeah.
Yeah, right. And it's you need a whole staff just to take care of Woodbridge.
We do.
And we have a lot of partners, that have helped develop certain actions or actions that were created to align with their own programs that provide guidance and hand-holding as well. So they sort of help support that work that we do. So we're not alone. And also we have regional hubs around the state. So these are networks of different green teams, municipalities that are sort of working together, learning from each other, collaborating on projects, and there's a lot of mentoring there too. So if we don't have the capacity to help with something, we oftentimes put out feelers to towns like Woodbridge, someone in the area or someone that we know has, is sort of like an exemplar in that action or that area, to say, hey, can you connect with them and provide them some guidance?
And we're part of the newest hub. So do you want to talk about the urban a little?
Yeah, so we recently this year formed the Urban Sustainability Hub, and it's comprised of 7 cities or urban centers in New Jersey. That's Woodbridge, Camden, Jersey City, Trenton, Hoboken, and Newark, and Patterson. And so the idea is to get you guys together and come up with, because you have you're so large, you've got a different set of needs than a lot of the other towns. You have a lot of resources at your disposal, but different needs. And so
commensurate set of problems.
Right. And so it's like, let's get you guys together to share best practices and collaborate on projects, and whether that be there's a couple of different funding opportunities that around resiliency that the hub has gone for or is in the process of going for, to work on projects together, things like that.
And we're kind of finding that each participant in here has different expertise.
Yes.
Hoboken went through an enormous thing because they had to on resiliency and flooding. And so we can learn from them. And it's just, and that goes on and on. It's a wonderful opportunity, and thank you for asking us to participate in it.
Absolutely.
That's terrific. So the way you've kind of organized all of these actions is around the 3 legs of the stool: people, places, and prosperity.
People, planet, prosperity.
People, planning, and prosperity.
Planet.
So that's it. That's it.
Like environment.
The environment, the little piece of that. So let's start with people.
Sure.
And one of the and there's all kinds of different things under people, and one of my favorite things is arts. But what does arts have to do with sustainability?
Well, a few things, and just on the stool that you're talking about, for people who might not be familiar, I think it's worth describing. When we think about sustainability, how we define it, we're just talking about the future. We want to think long term, and we want to be able to sustain our quality of life, our civilization, the things that are important to us over the long term. And things like climate change or a failing infrastructure system, anything that we could think of and think long term and be like, if we don't solve that problem, I don't see how we're going to be able to keep going. That we think falls into our purview. And so the people, prosperity, planet is, I think, the planet everyone gets really intuitively. Climate change, the environment, right? It's like, and then the prosperity also, it's what good is clean air if you are impoverished and you can't afford health care, and and then the people thing has to do with kind of public health and quality of life, and so and then roundabout back to your question, the arts. So there's a few ways that the arts relate. So for one thing, arts are a powerful tool for economic development, and if we want to have vibrant communities, and we want to have downtowns and stores, and we want to have the kind of jobs also that can't be outsourced, and buying local, then building places that actually matter to people is really important, and the arts have shown to be really powerful tools for economic development and placemaking. Beyond that, arts are a powerful tool for communicating ideas to people. So if we as a society can't agree on something, if we can't act together on something, if we can't get inspired and be motivated to do something, it's not going to happen. And so whenever there have been great moments in history and waves where society has made a big shift, like what we need to do on climate, as another example, the arts have been part of that.
Yeah, and mental health too, right? There's lots of evidence that shows art being, a booster of energy and mental health, and just giving people the opportunity to create something and have purpose, and also just enjoying the arts too sort of lifts your spirits too.
And as we speak, DEP has grant applications out there to use art to educate people about resiliency. Okay. So, which is, I think they've awarded them already, maybe. But that was a great idea.
I mean, I could just think of one, and I saw an art, kind of an art where they painted like a blue line in like a downtown, showing where if the projected flooding happened, where the water would be. It's going to put people away, right?
Yep.
So anyway.
Yeah, it's pretty. You can definitely use art for everything. And as far as economic development goes, I mean, our Avenel Performing Arts Center and the theater and the restaurant and over 100 apartments right by the train station goes to prove. And then once we opened that, it was like a domino effect, because the rest of downtown Avenel is people are investing in it and improving it and starting businesses.
Yeah.
And having downtowns is huge for a lot of reasons, because not only is it a big economic driver, and money that's spent on a local business circulates 9 times more in the community than the dollar that's sent to Amazon in China, for example. So local businesses really matter. And then, in terms of the environment, being able to buy something, purchase it locally, walk, or even have a shorter drive, having sort of like a real tight community is just much more environmentally efficient. We burn less fuel, we create less pollution, we release fewer greenhouse gas emissions. So everything just aligns with our long-term goals. So downtowns are a big deal.
That's why we're investing so much time and money into our downtowns.
Yeah.
And when you came in, you could see the change happening here.
Yeah.
And it's really been exciting. And I spent yesterday talking to businesses to come move down to Main Street. And so it will be great. Another good arts example that we have is we have a gallery here in Woodbridge with all of our local artists. It's a co-op, and they come in for whatever, they give their time, and we pay the rent, the town pays the rent for the shop, and they don't have to give us any money, any part of what they sell. And aside from it being a good business for them, it has created a world of artists. And they are so excited, and then they have pop-up galleries at events all around town. So it spreads. It's also so changing the subject a little bit, because you have rightfully created a huge focus on equity and diversity and underserved people, and I think that's really something that we have to spend a little time to explain better and explain why this is so important.
Well, equity was in the original definition, that sort of the kind of the World Commission on Environment and Development came up with, like back in 1990. So, and the basic idea is that if a rising tide doesn't lift all boats, then there's not going to be everyone working towards lifting the tide. So if our current civilization and our current quality of life isn't great for some, then they're not going to be on board. But there's also when we think about sustainability and like what we're trying to achieve, and I think the arts is sort of another example. Part of it is it's not just about do we have enough food, do we have some basic needs met, but it's sort of like, are we creating the kind of civilization, the kind of life that we approve of, that we want, that we feel is reflective of who we are. And so equity is a huge part of that. In the United States, municipalities, both consciously and unconsciously, have been on the front lines of creating sort of the racial segregation that we see in this state. New Jersey is the most racially segregated state by municipality. As a state, we're very diverse, but within each municipality, because we have so many small municipalities, it was really easy for people starting quite a long time ago, like in the 1800s, to start to say, well, I'm going to pull my tax money and my ratables base, and also be with people who are like me, and pull myself into a little borough or a little whatever. And so you started to see real segregation. And that had a number of impacts. So one of them was it created what people are starting to refer to as sacrifice zones, if you've heard that term.
Oh, no, I haven't.
But basically when you think about places that are where all the environmental pollution and the polluting facilities are located, it becomes easy to have more of those types of facilities if you can just dump them in one area. And it tends to be in the poor areas where all those things get dumped. So the Murphy administration and a lot of others have really put a big emphasis into trying to identify where there are populations of people that are sort of getting overburdened with the environmental consequences of society, and saying, it's not fair that these people are getting all the pollution while everyone else gets the benefit. So I think that's also another piece of sustainability, is that we have to stop thinking of there being places in the world and populations of people that don't matter, and that we can just kind of dump on them, and that will make us internalize and deal with a lot of the pollution ourselves.
Right, and then when you, we had a little discussion before we came here, because we've been trying to, through our health actions, we've been looking to see where our populations are that are underserved.
Yep.
And we're trying to take some actions as far as their health is concerned and their food is concerned. And one of the things that we have started to do, as we find these little groups of underserved neighborhoods, I guess, of underserved people, is we take services to them. We're purchasing a mobile health care, and the health department takes COVID vaccines right to the people. And Lauren, this is kind of your area. You've been very helpful with us in the health and the food. But how can we, as Sustainable Jersey, work to help the underserved people?
Yeah, so from a practical standpoint, we're really trying in the program to provide the resources to municipalities and schools to do that. And we ourselves too, with the technical assistance that we provide, right? We try to make sure that we're focusing priority on underserved or overburdened communities. But there's a lot of our actions that have a public education and outreach component, and so we're starting to build in guidance on, how do you better communicate with and engage people living with disabilities. We just created a guidebook on that, and we're putting it into all of the actions that have to do with outreach. similarly to what you're talking about, trying to learn about where are these pockets of underserved people. We have a recent action where it's, building a diversity profile. So looking at your demographics, who's living within your community, where do they live, and then how do they get their news and their information? Is it through the local churches and synagogues? Is it through a Spanish-speaking newspaper? Is there a civic group, that kind of thing? And then that will help the municipality build that sort of almost like a phone tree for emergencies, or also just regular communication in order to get out, hey, we have these programs, or we're going to be in your community with a mobile health unit on this day, to be able to get that information out.
Or we're trying to engage the community to better understand what services are needed. So if they're not part of the process, because you don't know how to communicate with them and include them, then you might not even know what they need to be able to set those services up.
Right, and a big piece of that people leg of the stool is, as Randy mentioned, the equity, and it's about everyone having equitable access to the resources and services that exist,
and to know that it's there.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we have 2 minutes left. So didn't that go fast?
That one's fast.
So if you want to just do some final words, final message that you would like to share.
Well, I think when it comes to sustainability, you said it right in the beginning, there's a lot of little things that people can do that add up. And when we look at all the municipalities, we're trying to have a statewide and a global impact, one community at a time. But when it comes to those little things, just like we try to make it easy for the municipalities, someone's got to make it easy for the regular people. Because if you're asking people to do something that feels weird, feels undignified, is significantly harder, because it's just the right thing to do, it becomes really hard. And so I really think that government plays a strong role, and local government plays a really strong role in helping people understand why they're doing these things and making it the easier choice.
Great. Lauren?
I would just say to your viewers, step up and help, right? Your municipality, the government can only do so much. You guys are doing a lot here in Woodbridge, but you've got 100,000 people or more.
A little bit more.
So I'm sure you could use volunteers and people to help. There's got to be something. Sustainability is so broad. If you opened up one of our brochures or you went online and looked at the actions, there's categories for everything you can think of. There's something for everybody. So find something that you're passionate about and help, whether it's single-use plastics or energy usage or something.
Perfect. Wow, you guys are great. Terrific. Well, thank you for watching Greenable Woodbridge and being part of the change and part of the excitement.